Okay, so today we're going to be looking at this duct taped Herculite style door here. We got some problems on that. I'm going to pull the door and see if we can replace that mechanism.
So a couple of things to keep in mind when you're going to attempt to pull a Herculite style door like this, or a solid glass door. That's what they refer to this style of door, having only a hinge pivot at the top and then a solid sheet of glass, and then a locking mechanism usually down at the bottom of the door. Is you're going to need glazer's mitts. I would highly recommend you have a good quality set. Do not get cheap glazer's mitts. If you drop the door on cheap glazer's mitts, that's really going to ruin your day, so I would definitely make sure you invest in a good set of those before you get started. And you can see that we're pulling this top hinge block apart here. There should be 2 Allen head screws on that hinge block, and that's what we're removing right now. Make sure that you have your glazer's mitts in place. You can see John applying those right now, and I like to even as a rule of thumb, you'll see how there's kind of a pump on them on the thumb side. You want to mount them fairly low so that way you can use your legs to lift, so you're not holding the door with your arms, but rather with your legs, and you can pivot and tilt and move it. You also want to make sure you have 2 glazer's mitts. This would be one of those situations where 2 is 1 and 1 is none. If one fails, at least you have another one on there to make sure that the door doesn't take off too far away. So have somebody stabilize and hold the door. This protects the public as well. We want to make sure there's no people around so that they don't get injured in this situation either.
So this is actually going to be your adjustment to tip the door down or bring it back up if it's dragging on the floor. You actually loosen this screw here and then the one on the other side, and there's a little slide there, and it slides back and forth. Oh! And bring that door back.
So now that we have the door pulled, we can pull the mounting screws, which you just saw John remove right there, and then we're going to remove the cylinders. Also, you can see the set screw, so it works. You can see how this is all broken compared to that new one. Some broken internal pieces, but it would have 2 set screws just like you would have on a regular Adams Wright style door that would loosen up the cylinder to allow the cylinders to thread out, both the keyed cylinder on the outside and the thumb turn on the inside. Now John is going to go ahead and install the new mounting screws and the new unit. Always want to leave the unit a little bit loose so that you've got some room to try and move things around and align that hole up with the thumb turn and the cylinder to make that installation a little bit easier. You can see there we've got a successful open, successful locking and unlocking. You want to test this a whole lot before you put it back in service. So here are those set screws that we're referring to. These ones are Phillips head, or I'm sorry, flathead apparently, instead of the typical Allen head. But either way, that would be how you access them, is from the side, and a very long, thin, flat blade screwdriver, or in some cases, an Allen head screwdriver, depending on which one you have. Now here's where we were talking about making sure that those mounting screws are nice and loose so that you can get the key cylinder to line up correctly and have everything thread together. It's going to save your day.
Right, so there's our bearing system down here, and this is how you can actually adjust the door. You can move it in, you can move it out via these 2 screws here. That stud that sticks out of the ground rides right on top of here, and then it has this little spring device to keep it in play. And then now we have the lock replaced here. Thumb turn on the inside, keyed on the outside, switch it over to IC so that we don't have to do this again, or we don't have to come in through the side either.
Now we're going to rehang the door, and this little pop-up that just popped up here is the bottom bearing, or the bottom stud that you're going to put the door onto first. You need to lift the door up and put it onto that bottom pivot or bearing hinge piece, and then you'll slide it up into the top. And when you slide it up into the top, you'll then simply do the opposite of what we did before, taking those 2 screws off of that block and then locking it in place. If there's any adjustment that needs to happen, you can take that adjustment screw and you can either pull the door in raising the outer edge, or you can let it out just a little bit, allowing it to fit correctly in the frame. That will complete our Herculite style door locking mechanism replacement. For more information, check out wayneslockshop.com.